Hello, it's Randi Rhodes. Here's a clip from our show, and go to randyrhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.
Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
If I don't win the election, their ratings are going to go so far down, they're going to be out of business, every one of them. Can you imagine? Can you imagine covering Bernie or Pocahontas? Pocahontas. How about that?
It's a cult. I swear.
Can you imagine these guys? Some of them are actually smiling, but some of them just can't stand it, honestly. Some of them, they can't take it. Can you imagine having to cover Elizabeth Warren for 4 years?
They don't even know who she is.
You know, I was watching during the campaign, and Hillary was sitting right there, and Pocahontas was up, and she was so angry. Look, we love each other, the women, the men. We love each other. Everybody loves. She was so angry. I said, you know, I think she's losing the entire male audience and many of the women. She was going at it, and Hillary's sitting there saying, oh, my God, what did I do here? This is... But can you imagine if they had to cover some of these people that are running? I think any of them, to be honest with you. I think any of them. Oh, I'd love Oprah to win. I'd love to beat Oprah. I know her weakness. No, I know her weakness. I know her. You know, I know her very well. I was on her last show, or one of the last, I guess the last week. She had Donald Trump and Donald Trump's family. My, we've come down a long way, haven't we? I'm now president, and probably, you know, but think of it. I know her weakness. Wouldn't we love to run against Oprah? I would love it. I would love it. That would be a painful experience for her.
You're a sick, freaking, twisted maniac. There's something wrong with him. He's so bad. What?
Well, I was just going to say, Randi, you know, you mentioned a cult. It's a cult, and it is
a cult.
But Jim Jones and David Koresh never sounded this unreasonable and off. I mean...
I don't know. I think they kind of did. Yeah. But Oprah, he knows her weakness. What the F, man? She's not running for nothing. I saw her with Van Jones. It was a beauty. It was a beauty. She was saying how we live on a planet with darkness and light, and that we should all, you know, bathe in the light. We should, fight, be warriors for the light. And Van Jones was saying exactly what I was feeling, which is, I can't. I got a man that threatens to kill people. I got a man that wants to, have death squads, roaming the street and extrajudicial killings. I got a man that's separating families in detention centers. I got a man who's arresting mothers on the street and putting their children 2,000 miles away in another detention center for the civil violation of having expired papers. It's a civil violation. It's not a crime. It's not a felony. He's doing so many things. He's putting Betsy DeVos in charge of fucking school shootings. I mean, that's how angry I am. He's got Betsy DeVos in charge of education, for God's sake, a woman who is responsible for single-handedly driving down Michigan's education system to the top percentile, meaning the worst in the nation, in charge of the education system for the whole country. He had Tom Price, a guy who was guilty of big pharma, inside trading, as our Health and Human Services Secretary. Ben Carson, a freaking neuroscientist in charge of housing. What does he know about housing except how to redecorate? $131,000 for a dining room table. Kellyanne Conway, who's just been cited for a law we've never even prosecuted, the freaking violation of the Hatch Act, is his spokesperson. He's got a hollowed out administration. Nobody wants to stay there. Nobody wants to work with him. He imposes tariffs on freaking steel and aluminum and then exempts the biggest importers of steel and aluminum. I mean, the man makes no sense. Everything he does is for show. And this show is killing us. It's killing us. And you got cult members out there who are probably sitting there like loaded to the gills on, various drugs of choice, applauding him, saying he's going to kill anybody that does drugs. It's just so bizarre. And they'll cheer any damn thing he says. And if you think they knew who Elizabeth Warren, if you asked them what state she, who is she? They wouldn't know. They wouldn't be able to place her in the Senate. They would never be able to place her in Massachusetts. They would never be able to point her out in a lineup, even if you gave them the E, the A, and the R on the big board. They wouldn't be able to. Oh, it's so twisted, and it's so wrong, and it's so evil, and it's just dangerous at this point. Dangerous. You got a man who's talking about, I don't need any preconditions to go to talk to Kim Jong-un. I just want, and his best friend is Vlad the Impaler. Oh, by the way, Theresa May today. See, this is all part of the corruption that is the Trump election, okay? It's all part of it. Theresa May today, you probably heard last week that there was a Russian who was a turned Russian. He was a defector, and he moved outside of Russia, and he became a spy for Britain. He became a UK spy, right? And he is reportedly, and we don't know, we can't check it, but he's reportedly a source for ex-MI6 spy Christopher Steele. And all of a sudden he turns up with his daughter dying on a bus bench in London. And they do the forensic. He's not dead. They failed. He's still alive, and so is his daughter, but he's in a coma. And his name's Skipple. And it turns out that he's a Russian defector who, was flipped and became a spy for the UK against Russia, okay? And Theresa May did the forensics. They got the tests back today about what was the substance. And, well, just listen. This is unbelievable.
As is normal, the Council was updated on the assessment and intelligence picture, as well as the state of the investigation. It is now clear that Mr. Skripal and his daughter were poisoned with a military-grade nerve agent of a type developed by Russia. This is part of a group of nerve agents known as Novichok. Based on the positive identification of this chemical agent by world-leading experts at the Defence Science and Technology Laboratory at Porton Down, our knowledge that Russia has previously produced this agent and would still be capable of doing so, Russia's record of conducting state-sponsored assassinations, and our assessment that Russia views some defectors as legitimate targets for assassinations, the government has concluded that it is highly likely that Russia was responsible for the act against Sergei and Yulia Skripal. Mr. Speaker, there are therefore only two plausible explanations for what happened in Salisbury on the 4th of March. Either this was a direct act by the Russian state against our country, or the Russian government lost control of its potentially catastrophically damaging nerve agent and allowed it to get into the hands of others. This afternoon, my right honourable friend, the Foreign Secretary, has summoned the Russian ambassador to the Foreign and Commonwealth Office and asked him to explain which of these two possibilities it is, and therefore to account for how this Russian-produced nerve agent could have been deployed in Salisbury against Mr. Skripal and his daughter. My right honourable friend has stated to the ambassador that the Russian Federation must immediately provide full and complete disclosure of the Novichok programme to the Organisation for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons.
Wow. And this is our president's best friend. And I don't know if you saw Vlad being interviewed. People must really hate Megyn Kelly because she didn't get any traction on this. And it was really pretty shocking because Vlad the Impaler said it's okay that Russians hacked. It's okay. He doesn't give a damn.
Okay, fine, Russians. But they're not government officials. So what if they're Russians? There are 146 million Russians, so what?
So what is he doing about it?
If the 13 Russian nationals plus 3 Russian companies did in fact interfere in our elections, is that okay with you?
I don't care. I couldn't care less.
That's his best friend. I don't care. I couldn't care less. I couldn't care less.
The Mueller indictment is very specific about what the Russians were doing. There is a specific email, a damning email, that is cited therein by a female Russian who appears to have been caught red-handed. She says as follows: "We had a slight crisis here at work. The FBI busted our activity. Not a joke. So I got preoccupied with covering tracks together with the colleagues. I created all these pictures and posts, and the Americans believed that it was written by their people. And now you want to sit here and say you don't have the tools to do it, that we have the market on cyber interference? That's just not true.
I don't even understand what you're talking about right now. You know, this is some sort of nonsense.
They say he's brilliant. They say he's like the big brain. He's so good at propaganda. He's such a bit. His entire explanation is, I don't know what you're talking about. What is that? He's a cult. He's a cult who pays his friends and his enemies billions of dollars to leave him alone. And that is what Trump is doing. That is exactly what this tax cut was. $1.5 trillion in payoffs that you will pay for. And it's tax time. I mean, I just looked at my tax bill. I'm like freaking out. I don't even know how we're going to keep going, but we'll figure it out. But it's so unbelievable. We got no tax break, zero. We're a small business and we got nothing. But, the Wall Street and real estate developers, they're going to, no more alternative minimum tax. And I mean, it was such a giveaway. It's becoming, so apparent that Trump worships Vlad and the ground Vlad walks on, because Vlad figured out how to take the Russian treasury and give it to a handful of people who got his back. And that's what Trump is doing too. And that's why the Republicans in Congress sit there completely neutered. Their Neds have been cut off. Mike in Pittsburgh.
Hi, Randy.
Hi. Are you voting? Did you vote?
No, look, I'm 14. I'm not 18. I did canvass for labor for Lambdo. And that crusty old white guy, he looks just like LePage or Arpaio.
Doesn't he?
Or Palladino. They all look that way. I just wanted to say, they're like 5 municipalities away from Pittsburgh, is Moon Township, and it's a shake-and-bake prefab. There was a sleepy little community, was overlaid with a bunch of new development. There's no real neighborhoods there, not a big population, and we crushed Trump in Allegheny County. So that's the whole county, including Moon. I was canvassing down in Washington County, Canonsburg, a decent population center, and Little Washington, and it's 10-1 Lamb signs in people's yards to Saccone supporter signs. Now, there's a ton of Saccone signs around here, but they're all like out on the freeway where it's public domain.
Right. So they put them there, not people. People aren't.
Yeah. This freeway overpass proudly supports them. So all I'm saying is that those yahoos weren't Pittsburgh. I didn't hear a whiff about it was over.
I understand what you're saying, but they are part of Pittsburgh Metro. Just saying. But
sure, 2.5 million in the metro area. But what I'm saying is they brought this guy in. They brought these people in from like 8 counties and 3 states, and they're not us.
Yeah,
okay?
I hear. So are we going to win tomorrow?
I hope we are. I think that the polls have been underestimating Lamb all along. And they're going to get. Well, you see the lackluster.
Well, let me tell you, right? March goes in like a lion, and it will come out with a lamb if these polls are correct. And I say that now. Remember, if you're voting tomorrow in Pittsburgh and Allegheny, whatever, Lamb is an ex-Marine. He's a former federal prosecutor. He is kind of conservative for me, but you might like him. The other guy is a complete and utter fake. He's a fraud. He's a phony. And he couldn't raise any money, so the GOP National poured $10.5 million into your counties there.
Right.
And because this guy got no support locally. None.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, look at his personality. Look at his looks. He's just horrible all the way around. All he does is roll over for the rich people. He has nothing to run on.
He had absolutely nothing to say. I mean, Trump said, come on up here, Saccone, tell him who you are. And all Trump could say about him was, he thinks he's handsome. What? What the hell was that?
Yeah, he is a good-looking guy. Trump might have been making a pass at him. He probably swings all kind of ways.
Rick Saccone? You think Rick Saccone is handsome? Rick Saccone looks like my grandpa Harry.
All right, listen, thanks for taking my call. I hope Howard's back gets better.
Yeah, thank you. So we're going to be paying attention. This is why we had to do what we have to do today, because tomorrow Pittsburgh votes. So this is time sensitive. I don't even think people realize there's a special election tomorrow in a very red very red district in Pennsylvania. It's Pennsylvania's 18th. Now, what he was saying is he's not able to vote in the 18th. He's not 14 years old. He was saying, I'm in the 14th, and this is the 18th district, which is Pittsburgh Metro, but it's also a bunch of little suburbs around it, like this Moon Township, which has, 25,000 people maybe on a good day, because people flee. They're leaving. Anyway, March comes in like a lion, and it will go out with a lamb, right?
Go to RandiRhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.